Out of Europe, regulators there have just unveiled plans that may let consumers save billions of dollars. It's also good news for generic drug makers. Officials will allow companies to sell copies of some of the world's most expensive medical treatments. And watching this is pharmaceutical reporter Shannon Pettypiece. So if it's good for the generics, it's got to be not so good for some of the drug makers.
For some of the branded companies, yeah. Well, right now, when most drugs lose patent protection, excuse me, generic copies are allowed to come on the market, and that drives down the price and hurts sales for the branded company. But there's a small number of drugs called monoclonal antibodies that are very complex to make that European regulators have said, no, when they go off patent, we're not going to allow generics to come on. Well, now today, for the first time, European regulators laid out this plan that would allow the generic copies to come on for these monoclonal antibodies. These are very expensive treatments for cancer, rheumatoid arthritis. They can cost patients about $20,000 to $30,000 a year. And so with generics on, the hope is that it will drive down the price and also give generic drug makers a foothold in this market for these drugs, which is about $36 billion last year and expected to grow to $60 billion by 2015. So very good news for patients and for some of these generic drug companies. But as you said, not so good news for Roche. They make one of the top sellers. J&J and Merck, they make the treatment Remicade. And also Abbott has a big one there as well.
And they put in all the money for the R&D in the first place, right? So who are the generic drug makers that stand to benefit?
Well, Novartis and Teva have been very aggressive about making generic versions of these biologic drugs, which again are complex to make. They use living organisms. They essentially replicate the antibodies in the human body. So they have been very aggressive making investments into this, and they stand to gain very well from this. So it's to watch.
Shane, you broke that down very complicated in a very concise way. I appreciate that.